Welcome to a short midweek devotion from the United Methodist Church in Littleton, Illinois. This week, we finish our 2 weeks on leadership tips. But before we go there, let's enjoy God's handiwork in the spring sky. Last week, I gave some leadership tips for non-leaders. Those of you that just don't see yourself in a position of leadership, or you feel intimidated by places of leadership, or maybe you're overlooked because of your demeanor, your personality for places of leadership. So I gave you some tips to make you a better leader. So this week, what about the opposite side of that? How about I give some leadership tips for those of you that you are leaders and you know it. I'm speaking particularly to those of you who are talented, who are driven, who are competitive, who want to get to the top. In whatever position you're in right now, you're already visualizing yourself up the next step of the ladder. You can get things done. You can work under pressure. You can push people and get the most out of them. And your team succeeds. And your bosses know it. And everybody else knows it. You might be offered positions from time to time. I want to talk to you. Well, but before I go any further, you may be thinking, well, what's he going to say that's useful to me? I probably know more about leadership than he does. That may be true. It also may not be true. I don't know. But let me remind you that on these Wednesdays, I don't usually throw things out there just for people to swallow. And I don't care if people agree with me or disagree with me. I bring up issues that impact the Christian life and a challenge for us to think about them. So if you are a successful leader, I'm not asking you to listen to what I say, or maybe take it to heart. I ask you to take it to mind and think about what I say, and you come up with your own response, your own answer, not just something you took from me. We're getting quite a bit of wind out here today, and I can see my tripod going wobble, 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 wobble. So if it looks like my picture's going back and forth, that's what's going on. If the stabilization is able to overcome it, great. Okay, last week I talked about what we would call a soft or gentle side of leadership. And the Achilles heel of soft leadership is sometimes not being able to pull the trigger, or not doing what has to be done when it has to be done, and just letting things go too far and just never getting around to it. That's one of the drawbacks of kind of a softer style of leadership. One of the drawbacks of a stronger style of leadership is certainly not the lack of willingness to pull the trigger. It's weak interpersonal relationships between you and your staff, you and your team. That is, sometimes a strong leader gets so success goal-oriented, is facing, rushing to get it done, something done by a certain deadline, trying to do better than the last time, trying to beat the other teams, the other departments, trying to make that ladder of success, count that. And in the process of doing that, without even realizing it, sometimes they trample on their own team. And here's something that soft leaders know that sometimes stronger leaders might not know, is that when push comes to shove, If your team succeeds, you're going to succeed. If your team does not succeed, doesn't matter how strong you are or how forcefully you push, if they don't succeed, you're not going to be as effective as you might otherwise be. And if they are dragging their feet every place they go and just giving you the bare minimum of what it takes to keep from being chewed out or being called in and talked to, then it's not succeeding the way that it could be succeeding. You need to be a mentor, a coach, and bring that team up with you. I'm listening to myself with this particular lesson or whatever you call it today, thought for the week, and I realize that I'm in my mind, even while I'm talking, I'm putting too much of my background into what I'm saying. That is, I've been a pastor and led different churches and staff for a lot of years. I've been the director of the Raceville Center of that department at Spoon River College. I've worked on our church's conference level, so I'm thinking in the corporate world. But pretty much everything I'm saying will also affect in a parenting role with our children. Because sometimes we as parents are a little bit too laissez-faire, a little too soft. But other times we can equally be a little too harsh with our children. And both ways, we are less of a parent than what we could be, or less effective as a parent, not less of a parent, but less effective as a parent than we might be. So the question is, let's say that we come down a little too strong sometimes. What do we do about it? Well, I've got some ideas. You might agree, you might not, but see what you think. Well, the first thing I'm going to suggest is the same suggestion that I gave last week to as a leadership tip to those that don't feel like they're leaders or leader material. And that is, you be who you are. And you be who God made you. There is no way that I want to change you or I want you to try to transform yourself from a snarling tiger to a cuddly teddy bear. I mean, we need people of drive. So I wouldn't say try to be that. You use the gifts that God gave you in the places where God puts you. Just make sure you're doing something that is godly and building the kingdom, building your family. Get your priorities straight. Have a clear vision. No matter what it seems like in this world is not about paychecks, products, or promotion. It's about people. Jesus didn't die for paychecks, promotions, and products. He died for people like you and for me. And when you invest yourself in other necessary things that give paychecks or that offer perhaps promotions, or make sure that you know you're investing yourself in people first. And people will notice that. I think probably another thing that I would say is not everybody is a snarling tiger. Some are built more like a cuddly teddy bear, or maybe a Humpty Dumpty is falling off the wall all the time. I don't know, but not everybody will do stuff up to your standards. Try to bring the best out of your team, but if your team doesn't hit the bar sometimes, help them learn how to hit the bar. Don't hit them over the head with the bar. Teach them how to have vision, how to be creative. That is, if you just go around micromanaging everything all the time and then make all your team or all of your staff or all your family just do exactly everything that you say the way you say, and they never quite do it well enough, that just is tension that's not necessary. Give them some ability within their abilities to do something, to dream something, to accomplish something. It's really not that hard to put down on paper. It's quite a bit more difficult to put it into practice. But I was going to say strong leaders can be effective leaders, dynamic leaders can be effective leaders, gentle mentoring type leaders can be effective leaders. But if you are a gentle type of leader, you're going to have to pick up a little bit of strong side in there someplace. And if you are a strong leader, you're going to have to pick up a little bit of that coaching, mentoring side. Otherwise, both sides, you'll never really be the leader that you could be. And we really need leaders. The church needs leaders, the families need leaders, our communities need leaders, and of course the places that you work and pay you to be a leader, they need leaders too. Once again, it's Wednesday. We're halfway through another week. May God bless you and watch over you. And I've asked probably of you to consider the possibility of doing one of the hardest things possible, and that is build on your strengths, but still chisel away at your weaknesses. And may God help you to become a more and more gifted, well-rounded leader for Him in all aspects of life. And I'll see you again on Sunday.